All right, welcome to our third call here. We're going to be covering copy and tech on this call. We did analysis last week, and that was lots of good questions on last week's call. So anyway, we can get into this. How are you guys doing? Is everybody connected on the Basecamp? I wanted to dedicate a little bit of time on this because this is both for copy and tech. So I wanted to dedicate a little bit of time on this call, just kind of going over. We've got Thomas on here, and he's going to cover all of our tech stuff. So maybe he can hop in here at some point and give us like a rundown on Basecamp, just kind of show you guys a little bit of the ins and outs of that. I think there's a video up and kind of covers that as well. But Basecamp, what it is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a project management software. And what we've done is we've created an outline of the entire ACT program. So as you go down the list, you can literally just check things off. And then when your accountability coach is working with you, they can actually see what you've accomplished so they know if you're missing things. And a lot of times, we'll get down the line, and what will happen is we'll run into problems like working through something, and a lot of times it's because you're missing a piece from before. So they can easily spot that and kind of help you to make sure that you don't have any of those gaps as you move through the process. So that's just something that, it's making it very easy for us to do that, kind of monitor what's going on. We've also created a Word document version of the ACT manual, the workbook. So that's also available in the Basecamp. So as you're going through now, instead of just making notes, you can actually update the Word document and keep a running, living document of this. And that is really going to be beneficial too if at some point down the line, you decide to hire a copywriter or hire somebody to do things for you. You'll have that manual, and it makes their job really easy. Because a lot of times what will happen, if you wind up hiring a copywriter, the copywriter is going to give you a big list of questions. And also, this is also true of Facebook. If you go to somebody to run a Facebook campaign for you, they're going to have almost the exact same questions as a copywriter, because they're going to need to figure out who your audience is. They're going to need to figure out all the targeting and the tracking, and they're also going to need to figure out what your message is. They're going to need to write headlines. They're going to need to develop creatives for your ads. And they're going to need all of that information to be effective. And what happens is a lot of times you'll hire the person to do your traffic, or you'll hire your copywriter, and they give you these questions, and they're expecting you to be able to answer them, right? You're the professional, you're the expert in your industry, and that might be the case, but if you haven't done this deep work, this deep analysis, you might not be prepared to answer those questions. So what happens, and I've done this myself, I've hired people to do stuff, and what happens is you just, you want to answer their questions because they're right there. They're like in your face asking you the questions, and they're expecting you to answer them. So you're answering them off the cuff. And, that's just like the scenario of garbage in, garbage out. If you don't give them good stuff to work with, they're not going to have, a good output. So really, really important that all of this stuff kind of is in a sequence, and it's followed in that sequence to get you the best results. I know everybody wants to jump into traffic. I know everybody wants to get to the other end and get the results, but I've seen it over and over and over of people getting to that point and wasting money on the traffic because they're just not ready. They're just not quite there. And I hate to see that, because not only does it waste money, it discourages, and it kind of leaves you a little broken and tainted to even make the next step. So the copy piece is really important, but the analysis, having that foundation to be able to do your copy is even more important, because like there's a really good copy example in there for a landing page, and it's in the ACT program as a PDF. And it's got the headline, basically how to do that, the eyebrow. There's a little line up on the very top that's in smaller print they call the eyebrow. And that's kind of like the little statement that says, you know, if you're a cat lover, you know, this is for you. That's what the eyebrow is. So it really just kind of calls you out to state that this is the right thing for you. So whatever it is that you're marketing or you're selling, that should differentiate whether, you know, they're in the right spot. So again, that's called the eyebrow. Next is the main headline. And this should include your unique mechanism. And the way that you're going to get that unique mechanism is that comes out of the analysis. You know, there's when you go and you look at all of your competitors, you're going to be identifying one of the things that you're looking for is what is their unique mechanism. And the unique mechanism is that specific thing about what you have, what you're offering, that delivers the result. And you know, I use this example a lot because it's a really great example, and it's the Garcinia cambogia. You know, the first thing everybody had was a diet pill. And then, you know, that was great if you were the first one to introduce that, because that is your unique mechanism. But when everybody else has the same thing, you've got to have that thing, that extra thing that delivers the result. So that's the Garcinia cambogia. So in your business, what's your Garcinia cambogia? What's that thing about what you do that delivers that result? And you should reference that in your headline. So that's kind of a key important thing there, that is referenced in the headline. And as far as like from a copy standpoint, the reason that that's important, that unique mechanism, it's because, remember, we discovered beliefs in the analysis process. And everybody is going to have these certain beliefs, and those beliefs become their objections. And in the copywriting, the way that you overcome those objections is with the claim, proof, benefit statements. So you make a claim that dispels the belief. It either creates a new belief or eliminates an old one. But a claim is just a claim. That's just you saying it. So the thing that really solidifies that is the proof. When you bring in the proof on the back end, that takes it away from just you saying it, and it gives them third-party data to back up the claim. So now it becomes more of a fact, even if it's just, you know, even if it's not a fact, just by virtue of it coming from a third party, it's a lot more credible. So that's what you're doing with the proof statement. And then you go into the benefits. And with the benefits, this is really, really powerful. And most of your competitors probably won't be doing this with their benefits, but the three-dimensionalizing of the benefits, the part where you say it is one thing and they hear it, but then you say it in a different way where they see it. And then you say it in a third way where they feel it. When you do that, that becomes incredibly powerful, because that's in alignment with their desired outcome. You know, they're seeing their outcome. They're feeling what it feels like to get that. So, you know, when you do that and you incorporate that in your copy is going to blow the competitor away. It's going to be incredibly powerful, and it's going to be ultra persuasive. So I know that might sound a little difficult, and you know, I've used this example many times, you know, in the past with the claim, proof, benefit. But in the benefit statements, you know, the first part of the benefit is, it's basically just stating the benefit. You know, so like in the case of the diet pill, the benefit is you're going to lose weight, right? So that's hearing the benefit. But when you hear that, it's kind of like, yeah, I've kind of heard that before. It's not that impactful. But that's what your competitors are doing. They're just stating the benefit. What we're doing by three-dimensionalizing that is we're going 2 steps beyond, where we say, first we say the benefit. We say, okay, you're going to lose weight, so they hear it. And next we're going to let them see it. So this is an NLP tactic where you literally describe it in a way that they turn it into a visual in their head. So you can say, you know, remember what you looked like when you looked in the mirror when you were 20 pounds lighter. Now they remember that, and that might be what they want to look like again. So now they're seeing it because you painted a picture in their head. One of the things about when you paint these pictures, when you're using this tactic to paint the pictures, you make sure that you don't paint it in too much detail, because you don't really know what their picture looks like. So you're really just giving them the canvas and the instruction to paint their own picture. Because if you paint the picture for them and it's not their picture, they're going to reject it. So you do not want to reject, you don't want rejection in your process here. So you can just say, you know, remember what you looked like when you were 20 pounds lighter. They know what that picture looks like, and they're going to paint it. So you can say something like, you know, imagine, you know, looking in the mirror and seeing you the way you were 20 pounds ago. Remember what that looked like? So that's the way you do that. And then the way you bring in the feeling, where they actually feel, then you're going to paint, you're going to tie that into the benefit. So if you've done your research and you know that, you know, you're trying to appeal to a market, let's say, of women that are trying to lose weight so they can go to their high school reunion. One of the things that you're going to tie into here is you can say, imagine how you're going to feel when you walk in the room and everyone notices you because you look so good. So now they've heard it, they've seen it, and now they really feel the outcome. That is going to create so much demand and desire for your product. It's unbelievable. So, you know, when I say you create this with the copy, that's how you do it. So that claim proof benefit, I don't think you're going to find too many of your customers, if any of them at all, or rather your competitors. I don't think you're going to find too many of your competitors that are doing this. So, you know, when I talk about doing analysis and doing your competitive research in order that you can create a better offer and a more superior offer, this is how you're going to do that. So you're going to look for holes in the market, and then the way you're going to fill those and overcome those is with your copy. When you create your marketing campaign, you're going to create a superior offer. So understanding what you're up against is one thing, but then just knowing the basics of this and that claim proof benefit, you know, I chased that back through history to see how far back that went. And that was one of the things I found that Benjamin Franklin was doing back in the, you know, the 1700s, I think it was. So it was crazy. It goes back hundreds of years. He actually used that exact formula to sell his wood-burning heater. So it's pretty cool. That's as far back as I could find it. But it worked back then, and it still works today. And I don't know why more people don't use it. So anyway, anybody got questions so far about, you know, copy or tech or anything related to where you're at? I don't want to just, you know, spend the entire call here with me talking. This really is for you guys to help you, you know, get through whatever challenges or hurdles you are in this this point in the program. Is anybody actually up to the copy point? Has anybody made it all the way through analysis and you're actually ready for copy yet? Okay, then that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't really expect you to be to that point just yet. But how about questions? Does anybody have?
John, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Ted.
Is there a link to Basecamp? I can't find the link.
There is. Thomas has sent those out. and I will have him send you the link out if you haven't got it already. He's on the call, so you might get it right now.
All right, thank you.
Thomas, do you know, did you send one to Ted? Did you get him set up yet?
Ted's set up as accountability coach because I only set up Basecamp projects for those who have actually set up their accountability coach.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't set that up.
Okay, so Ted, yeah, you need to get with Barbara and select your accountability coach, and then you'll get your link for that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem. All right, so basically, any questions? Go ahead, Jim. Oh, you're unmuted, but I'm not hearing you.
I have to unmute my mic.
Ah, there you go.
If I touch my mic, it turns itself off.
Mine does the same thing.
I'm at the point where I have a campaign that I have together, and I have something that we're giving away. And when they go to that giveaway, they're then going to go to an opt-in page to go to a webinar. I'm in the process of defining the audience and putting the copy together for that right now.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So I was sitting, I could show you all the books that are open, including your ACT book.
That's awesome.
I'm looking at putting it all together, but I haven't gotten it done yet. But I found that putting together 2 or 3 people's ideas about what might be needed or what's required was very much enlightening.
Yeah, that's really a good thing. And also, if you're having trouble figuring out what the giveaway is, one of the best things that you can do, and I learned this from Eben Pagan, by the way, on his dating stuff, is looking at the timeline. In analysis, you created a timeline of where your prospect is and where they want to go. And then you have all those little hurdles and things that they're going to have to overcome on the timeline. The best thing that you can do is you can give them a lead magnet that will help them overcome the first hurdle. Like if you know where they are and you know where they need to go, what's the very first thing that they need to accomplish to get there? And if your lead magnet addresses that and it gives them that result in advance, that's the best thing that you can do, because what that will do is that will raise their confidence level that they can actually achieve the goal. And that really helps bond them to you. When you are the one that delivers that confidence to them, they're much more apt to go with you for the next step. And the next step basically should lead them into, like you said, like your webinar, which is very educational based and dealing with all those hurdles and steps and setting buying criteria of the way they want to do that and things that they're going to come up against, the challenges they're going to encounter. And everything you can do to help them through that process of getting to their goal, that is going to gain their trust in you. It's going to gain their confidence in themselves, and it's going to increase their desire to get there. So when they realize that your product offer is the thing that's going to get them there, they're just going to want to buy it.
Well, one of the things that I've done for what I'm giving away is a sort of lead magnet, and the book that I just published on the ebook, you can click on the front cover and it takes you to this page. And what I did was, since I want people to use technology, learn technologies, I created a PDF of the technologies that I use to be able to do what they're trying to do. So I talk about the audio, the video, I talk about the various systems that I use. I have a section in the back of things that I say, look, this is really good. This is what I use, but I'm not telling you to learn it because it's too big of an issue.
Sure.
I'm just telling you what I learned. You can go do it on your own, but if you'd really like some help, contact me.
Okay, awesome. The other thing that you want to do, and you probably thought of this already, but for anyone else that hasn't, whenever you're offering or showing people what you use, make sure you use your affiliate links, because even if they don't buy your product, they're still apt to go buy that stuff that they need, and you still get paid on it on the front end.
Yeah, actually, I took an alternate approach, and I basically have on the front cover, I have no affiliation or relationship with the company whose products I'm telling you about. I'm telling you about these because I use them.
Yeah.
so that there's no issue about that.
Yeah. And I basically do the same thing without I don't have an affiliation with them.
Okay.
But, like in my community, I don't send out a lot of offers. I don't do a lot of email blasts.
Mm.
But when I do, I always tell people, I said, the reason I'm telling you about this is I've spent a lot of time and I've spent a lot of money buying other products, and these are the ones I settled on.
Mm.
These are the ones I wound up with because they're the best, and that's why I'm telling you about them.
Well, I might think of that doing something like that in the future. I have had a lot of pushback, not to me, but just in general conversations with people saying, I get really tired of people recommending things, and then I find out that they got paid for it. And I didn't know about it. So I said, this is a giveaway. I don't want any question about it. I don't really care about them buying the other product. I want them to sign up for the webinar.
Yeah.
So I want to eliminate all that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. But I do know that, the way I have approached it is I haven't gotten any blowback. In fact, most of the people, whenever I send something, like sometimes I'll promote something that doesn't even have an affiliate link.
Mm.
And I know a lot of times with my community, they'll actually send me emails. They go, hey, I want to buy this, but I want to buy it through your link. Do you have a link? And I'm like, well, there isn't a link for that particular thing.
Mm.
But it's like, Joel Comm, he said it really well many, many years ago. And he said, basically, I'm out here and I'm working on your behalf to find you great stuff. And the affiliate is just like my tip jar.
Mm.
If you're offended by it, then just don't use my affiliate link.
Right.
Yeah.
Good idea. Probably something I get more comfortable with as I go along.
Yeah. No, really. But don't let that, inhibit your ability to make money, for sure.
Thanks.
Just make sure they know that why you're doing it. That's the most important thing. If they get that, hey, you bought 10 of these things and only one worked, and that's what you're sharing with them. And by the way, it's an affiliate link. I don't think you'll have anybody that has any problem with that.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Also, let me ask you this: on your lead magnet, does it specifically address their first step that they have to accomplish? Is it basically the equipment that they need to do what it is?
Yeah, it's. I'm looking at people that are really trying to take their content and do some other things with it and get it out in front of a larger group of people and go from one-on-one to one-to-many.
Okay.
So I do go through a series that basically says, I'm trying to remember exactly what it says, but it does step through, here's the kinds of things you're thinking about doing. And I take them one at a time and say, if you're thinking of doing this, this is the equipment you need. These are sort of the systems that you need in order to make that happen. Like if I talk about podcasting, I basically talk about, microphones if you're going to do audio podcasting, and then Audacity, which is a great editor and it's free, and how easy it is to use. And then I talk about Apple as one of the great places for it to be able to be. But then you have to figure out where you're going to store it, because Apple doesn't store anything. So they're just a catalog. So I go through that process. And then when I got the video, I said, you can do the same thing on iTunes with video, but remember, it's a different storage area you're going to have to use.
Okay, got it. So you go into that more on the webinar?
No, actually, I did it on the PDF. I started this PDF, and I didn't realize it took me all day to create this PDF that I thought was going to take about an hour, but it took me about 12 hours to create it, because it's fairly comprehensive.
Yeah, I did the same thing on the blueprint for the ACT program. I started making an infographic, and I thought, I'll give myself an hour or two for this. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
Went into the next day, actually. So that's cool.
Thanks.
Okay, so when you go into your think about when you go into your webinar, you want to really script that out. I don't know if any of you have done webinars yet, but one of the things, I've done a lot of webinars, and some of them I've done just off the cuff, and sometimes that works out and sometimes not. If you're really, really familiar with your material and you've done it a million times, then that's okay. But if you're at all hesitant about your delivery, it makes it really, really easy, and it really relaxes you and makes you comfortable. And that comes through, that comfort and, relax, that really comes through. And the way I do that is by just creating a PowerPoint. I'm just following along with a PowerPoint. And, I'm not necessarily scripting everything out on the PowerPoint as I'm going to say it, but I'm putting the key components of what I'm going to talk about. And for me, I know it keeps me on track because, I've got a very deep depth of knowledge on a lot of different areas, and I can easily get off in a rabbit hole. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm way off the point here. And the point of a webinar is really to lead them through a sequence that's going to create demand and desire for your product. So you don't want to get off that track. So a webinar can really be helpful to keep you in line, keep you, on the course. And it can also help you in methodically figuring out how you're going to lead them through that process too. Because once you do it, I can almost guarantee you the first time you rough out your webinar in a PowerPoint, you're going to go back through like a little practice run, and you're going to see stuff of, oh, that's not really gelling the way I thought it was going to. And then it allows you to fix it before the webinar. So it's just like writing sales copy. Writing a webinar script is just like writing sales copy. So you want to do all the same things. You want to think about that eyebrow. First thing you want to open up with is, this webinar is for you if, and that's right off of your sales copy, right off your eyebrow. And next thing is the headline. You want to basically mention your unique mechanism that's going to help them get the desired outcome. And then basically you want to go into a little bit about yourself if that's applicable, and the why they should listen to you, that part. But then, remember, when you get into the presentation itself, remember you're going to be dealing with all of those objections. And I know on a webinar you can answer questions at the end, but if you effectively deal with all the objections in the presentation, you're going to limit those questions to a very minimal amount. And again, when you get those, you figure out what the belief is of your audience, and you create those claim-proof benefits to overcome those objections. And, just like in your sales copy, this is the way you should deliver your webinar sequence. You might be teaching them as well, and you might be, anything you're doing here, though, keep in mind, this is marketing. Whether you're educating them or whether you're overcoming their benefits or their beliefs, or, installing the benefits and creating that demand and that desire, all of it is marketing. So keep that in mind, and always keep your marketing goggles on when you're creating any kind of content. So, all right. Any further questions? Anything more about copy or headlines, webinars, anything? We also are going to address tech on this call too. So if you have any technical issues, anything you're up against, like creating a webinar, how to connect your autoresponder to your opt-in. Here's something I just want to cover briefly, the sequence. What you should be doing is you go from an ad, like let's say you have an ad on Facebook or an ad on Google and pay-per-click or wherever it is, wherever you're getting your prospects, you're basically making a call to action there that they click to get something, or whatever the offer is. When they land on the opt-in page, you want to try your best to collect email addresses. But here's the thing, and I've addressed this in the training, but I want to say it again because it's really important. This will increase your opt-in rates if you use the micro commitments. And the micro commitments is not asking for the email address on the first click. Basically, you're offering them something of great value, and you're just getting them to say yes. So you say, in the button, you might say, yes, I want to download that. And then when they click that button, then it asks them for their email address. You will get more opt-ins doing that versus saying, put your name and email address in below to get the free item. That's the old way of doing it. And basically, I'll tell you why that doesn't work as effectively, because they have to make two decisions. They have to decide, do I want the item? Which generally the answer is yes to that. But they also have to make the decision, is it worth me putting my email address in? And sometimes that answer will be no if you ask it first. In the micro commitment scenario, you're only asking them one question and you're getting them to make a commitment. So once they've made one commitment, getting the second commitment is much easier. So the first question, the first commitment is, do you want the free thing? And the answer is always going to be yes. So getting that first commitment is a piece of cake. There's only one question. There's no confusion. It's simple. They click that and then it says, okay, now that you've said yes, here's what you have to do to get it. Then you have to enter their email address. And for some reason, they're just so compliant at that point because they've already committed. So it's a sneaky little tactic, but it will increase your opt-in ratios incredibly. And I know ClickFunnels is really good with that. They have a lot of different options, and that's one of their options is that two-step opt-in. And I think that's what they call it, is a two-step opt-in. So that's a really good thing to do. And then once you get them to do that, on the download page, like let's say you're offering them the free thing and this is what they're opting in for, when you go to the download page, you want to make sure that they have the ability to download that thing that you just said they were going to get if they put their email in. But at the top of that, you don't have to put it at the top. At the top, you want to say, thank you for getting the free download, whatever it may be. Here's what you can expect to get out of it. But we want to offer you something better. We want to give you the ability to get on our free webinar where we're going to walk you through all the ins and outs of that thing. So you really get it, and it really helps you. And again, you can put all the benefits in there for whatever your offer is, and you can get them to sign up for the webinar before they've even downloaded the free thing. That's your objective there. And then they download the free thing, and you send them an email follow-up just to make sure that they do get access to the free thing before they get on the webinar. So, yes, Cynthia, let me unmute you here. Okay, go ahead.
You can hear me?
Yep.
So I loved your, thanks for explaining the sequence. I just wanted to clarify. So at the top of the page, they say, yes, they want that download. And number two, okay, in order to get it, I'll need your email. They do that. They go to the page where they get the download. But before that, you said, thank you. And could you just explain the copy above it?
Yeah, sure. Basically on the page, once they put their email address in, you're sending them to the download page to get the free thing.
Right.
Before you give them the free thing, you want to thank them. You want to, basically you're reassuring them that they've done a good thing and they're going to get benefit out of this. And then you're giving them a third bonus here of the free webinar. So you want to tell them, make sure that you sign up for the free webinar before you download this thing, because this is your only opportunity to get that. You're going to get the free thing emailed to you, and there's 10 ways to get that. But make sure you sign up for the free webinar that's going to help you get the value out of the free thing. Depending on what the free thing is, you plug in the appropriate stuff of what they're going to get out of having the webinar on top of that to explain it.
Right. And so you say, thank you for making a great decision. You're like, for me, you're going to learn how to identify your perfect client in lovely detail, and you'll attract more clients, make more money, have more impact. I say all of that. And then do I sort of sell the advantages of knowing your perfect client and say that's what the PDF will give you. However, if you really want me to walk you through it, join us for our webinar. Is that what you mean by all?
Yeah, you're really giving them a further bonus, really.
Right.
And you know, this is the point where you want to do that. So that's what you're trying to come up with. You're really, you want to make sure that they don't just get the free thing and then they don't really know how to use it and they're stuck with it and there's no next step.
Right.
You're really giving them the next step before they're even ready to take it. Because the object really for you to give them the free thing is to get them on the webinar.
Yeah.
So you make sure that the free thing, it's of value, but it doesn't take them all the way there. The webinar is the thing that's going to take them all the way there.
Right. Right.
So like in mine, I'm given the, you know, the infographic that's got the whole outline of the ACT program. Basically gives them all the steps that they would need to do, but could they do the steps from that outline? No, there's no way.
Yeah.
So what they do is then they go on to the webinar where I explain all the steps. And even with me explaining all the steps, they could still never actually accomplish it without the full training. So I'm educating them on what they need to do. I'm telling them, you know, if you don't do this, then you're going to wind up just where you are because you're making all these mistakes. And this is how to fix them. And that's what the training delivers. So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that they understand what they're going to get out of the other end of it. It's their desired outcome. You know, like in the ACT program, they're going to come out of it knowing how to create a home run marketing campaign. And that's going to prevent them from making all the mistakes from the past that's prevented them from getting to their desired outcome, which is actually having an ability to spend money to buy traffic to convert that cold traffic into customers. So when they see that, they're like, oh yeah, that's what I really want. If I could do that, then life would be grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the webinar, I'm showing them what's kept them from that and what's going to get them to that. And that creates the demand and desire for the product.
Hey, John,
Yes.
I have a question. Cynthia, are you done? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Building on Cynthia's question, so as I'm listening to it, I understand, I see the steps, the micro commitments to get them to the webinar, and I really personally understand the importance of a webinar because then they're really seeing you and hearing you, and you know, that's all good. So my question when you were talking about that, it's like, yeah, but how many more steps do you take until you sell them something, until they buy, you know, and anyway, and I was thinking, like, well, is that after the webinar? Is like you say, get my book. But then I looked down at my little Post-it note that says problem solution. That would be with that. So the problem would be the initial email. The solution would be come to the webinar. The product would be what you're selling. And you know what I'm trying to say? It's like after the webinar, is that when you go for a sale, or how many steps do you have to take before you?
Well, there's a great multi-part answer for that question.
Okay.
And it's based on a couple of variables. One of the variables is how far are they from where they are to where they need to be? And the other one is how much is your product that you're going to try and sell them to get them there?
Okay.
If it's let's say it's a $37 product, you don't need very many steps to that. Like if that's the case, you can basically just send an email to your prospect and say, hey, there's this cool thing. I found it. It does exactly what I need it to do, which is exactly what you need done. It's $37. Here's the order button. You don't really even need a sales page for that.
Is that something you do at the end of the webinar?
Yeah, you could do that on the webinar. You may not even need to go into a webinar for a $37 sale. So, you know, you might be able to get them right to the opt-in, give them the, you know, the PDF and say, you know, here's the thing that solves this challenge. You know, basically I bought it myself. It did this, this, and this for me. That if that's what you want done, awesome. It's $37. Here's the link. So it could be very, very short if you're if your desired outcome is a short distance away and it's a low dollar product. But let's say, for instance, like the ACT program, it's not a short way away. There's a lot of detail and a lot of steps to it, and it's a $2,000 program. So I can't just throw a buy button at them. I've got to overcome a lot of objections, and I've got to take them down the path of ways so they're confident that, hey, I could actually do this. So I might need to do 2 webinars. I might need to do 1 webinar where, I throw a soft close at them, but then I say next week I'm going to be doing a follow-up webinar where I cover the next steps. And I answer any questions, because I know between now and next week, you're going to come up with a whole slew of questions. So, and then between now and then, I might feed them an email sequence, 2 or 3 different emails, giving them tips and tidbits and basically just instructing them what micro steps they need to be taking to keep them moving toward that desired outcome. So you see how it's kind of a loaded question of what you need to do. It's so the 2 biggest variables is how much work is there to get them from A to Z, and how much is it going to cost. And the bigger those 2 factors are, the longer the sequence. Like if you're trying to sell, let's say you're trying to sell a $100,000 piece of machinery or a $100,000 project or whatever, it's probably going to be a much longer sales cycle. It's not a one close deal. It's not a one presentation, offer it up and close the deal and sign the contract. It's probably going to be multiple presentations to multiple people in the company and figuring out, who all am I up against to make this decision, and what are all of their problems with it? What are all of their beliefs about this? So you might not just be trying to close one person. You might be either trying to arm them with the information to go up the ladder and get the okay, or you might have to climb the ladder with them and go, so really kind of just depends on those 2 factors. How big a thing is it, and how much does it cost?
So I see what you're saying. If it's like a $37 product, it's not a far stretch.
Exactly.
But I see what you're saying. Like let's say they get the free thing, and using your formula, it's like they sign up for the webinar and they attend the webinar. If I had a $197 product, I'm just saying it seems like it's kind of an art form between if I had a $197 product and I would have to gauge after, say, a first webinar, do I think that they're ready to buy a $197 product? If I don't, I think, like you said, you might go over the first part of it and say, hey, next week I'm going to have another webinar that covers the second part. I can see how if it's something more than $37, like $200, one might spend a little more time educating them, saying that's the first part of it. Next week I'm going to do something else. And if people attend it, it shows that they're interested in it. And I'm assuming would be more likely to purchase something like $200 after the second webinar. But
yeah, I would say, if you're under the $500 mark, you can probably get most things sold on a single webinar.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess that's what I was trying to ask. Okay.
Yeah. I would say if you're 500 or below, 1 hour to 90-minute webinar, you should be able to get it sold pretty easily.
Because that was my question between how, like if you got them on the hook, when do you reel them in? Or if you leave them too much, they might drift away. But, it occurs to me just in my rudimentary knowledge of, part of me thinks, what if they don't buy it? But my rudimentary knowledge of ClickFunnels says, wait a minute, there's like a return email. Hey, thanks for it. Like if they don't buy, you can set it up where you say, hey, thanks for attending the webinar, and then you can kind of go at them again, like, hey, in case you missed these points or make it up again. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so the whole idea of getting them into the email sequence is so you have that ability to follow up with them.
Okay, I got to change that thinking. Like it's like one webinar, they're either going to buy it or not, and goodbye. But it's not goodbye.
No, not at all. You are spending money to build your mailing list, and your mailing list is future opportunity.
Yeah.
Whether you're communicating them just on this thing, because let's say you put 1,000 people in your mailing list and only 50 of them buy, 50 of them make a purchase. So, you've got 1,000 of them in there. That means 950 of them didn't make that purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two choices. You can either ignore them, and basically at that point you've wasted all the money it took to generate the list, or you can figure out, well, maybe they didn't like that. Who knows why, but maybe they might like this other thing.
Right.
And maybe you don't have anything else to offer them, and that's where affiliate offers come in.
Yeah.
So you say at that point, hey, well, maybe they'll like my competitors better. Let me send them an affiliate and try and make some money off them.
Let me ask you, if they didn't buy, like, let's say I do a webinar and it's good and it's in their wheelhouse, it's like they're good, there's potential there. But if they didn't buy the first one, I could also, like if 50 bought and 950 didn't, is it also conceivable that I could actually make a follow-up webinar and then through ClickFunnels send them one of two emails? Like if they didn't attend, say, hey, in case you missed it, here's the webinar. But if they did attend and didn't buy, I could say, thanks for attending the first one. Part two, you might have some additional questions. So I came up with the second webinar and send them a link to that. Is that an option so that they might check into the second webinar?
Yeah. Here's something really important. When you're doing a webinar, you're not going to get 100% attendance.
Right.
Doesn't mean they weren't interested. It just means something came up and got in their way. So you don't want to penalize them for that. So make sure when you do a webinar, you always record it. And as soon as you're done with the recording, put the recording up and send the replay out. Because I did this, last year we were in Las Vegas, and I did a webinar with Chris Armistead with our Rainmaker product. And we did really well on the live webinar. I think we sold somewhere around $20,000 to $30,000 worth on the live webinar. And he didn't have that many people on. It was a really high close ratio. I mean, we had the target market down to a T, and the presentation was right on the money. We closed close to 40%. It was awesome. But we made more sales when he sent out the replay than we did on the live event. And those sales trickled in over the next 2 weeks. So we literally over doubled our sales by just sending out that replay link.
Wow.
And he sent it out immediately after, and then he followed up with, I think, 3 or 4 follow-up emails reminding them that the link was there and to go check it out because it was so awesome.
Hey, John, since it's a tech call, I want to add this real quick to that. Chris, what you're talking about, make sure everybody that you're putting on your retargeting pixel, depending which platform you want to use, whether it's AdWords, Facebook, or any other platform, they all have some type of pixel. And in order to retarget these people and hit them back, you're going to need to have that. So again, on any of these ClickFunnels or regular sites, any landing page, make sure you start from day one putting that pixel on there and collecting that data anyway, whether you plan to use it right away or not.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because when you're spending money for the advertising, even if they don't opt in, if you have that retargeting pixel, they've opted in just by coming to your page. So that's a whole nother type of opt-in where you can actually follow them up. And then I just found this. Let me share my screen with you guys, and you can see this is an opt-in that we did with ClickFunnels. And this is an example of that micro commitment. So this is the landing page that we're sending them directly to from the ad. And basically, you got discover the #1 reason you're not at the top. And again, that is meaningful to who we're sending this to, because we're targeting people that are into SEO. And then we say here, learn how you can unlock the power of Google. Get access now. So the only question here is, do you want access to unlock the power of Google? It's just the simple yes or no. when they click that, then it asks for the name and email address, and then get access now. So that's an example of that, that micro commitment. So, and another thing too, you guys might be noticing there's an animated background going on behind this. I thought it was quite distracting myself, but we're split testing it to see how effective that actually is versus just a static background. So, because the millennials, they like moving shit. So for me, just because I don't like it, that is meaningless. It doesn't matter because I'm not the one buying it. So we're always testing stuff. Don't think that because you don't like something that means that your target audience isn't going to like it. So always be testing stuff. So this just happens to be, one of the things that we're testing is these animated backgrounds behind our opt-ins. And we do that through ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels gives you the ability to split test stuff right inside of ClickFunnels. So when you create your ad, like once this is created, all we have to do is go in and create a variation that has a static background, one that doesn't move around like that. And really, really easy to do. So let's see here. I'll just refresh. Sometimes it'll give us a new one and sometimes it sticks on the same one. I think this is going to, it's just bringing up the same one. And I think that's because I'm in test mode and inside of ClickFunnels. But let's see. Let me see if I can go back. See if I can bring up the other one, the main image. Yeah, I was going to do the same thing. Okay, here we go. So there's the static one. I personally like this one a lot better because it's not like moving all over the place. But like I said, we're doing split tests with it, and you can put any background you want back here. ClickFunnels has a ton of them to choose from, and it's really easy to create these variations. So that's one of the things you want to make sure you're doing is testing those variations, because you might find that one little change, like just a change in the background, gives you 20% more. 20% more can mean a lot more profit. So if you don't know and you're not testing, you can't really sharpen the sword. So, all right. Any other questions about anything really? The copy, the ads, the sequences, the tech?
John, I have a question. I was wondering if you could guide me through something. I've been doing the work in the ACT program and watching the videos and following along. And then I started in Google AdWords, an ad and look for keywords and things like that. And when I followed it in your example, it flowed right into it. Like create a new account and everything like that. But I want to try different campaigns on different things. And I'm kind of stuck on how, when I click on new campaign, it gives me a whole set of options that I'm not familiar with. Could you just guide me through real quick, making a new campaign if I wanted to try different topics, if I want to make a new campaign?
Speaking specifically of pay-per-click in Google or Facebook, or?
It's the Google AdWords.
Okay.
Hey, John, you want me to do a screen share and do a demo?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do a clone campaign, can't you?
Well, you can do clone, but you actually, if he's just trying to keep within there, I would do a new ad group. It sounds like you're trying to test, Chris.
Yeah, I'm trying to test, like, again, in the pages on the ACT program, in the on the early pages about like page 10, 11, 12, 13, you know, it's just about like the keywords used. You know, it's on page 13, cost per click, impressions, and things like that. I'm trying to make a new campaign. I don't know if you can see my screen.
We see it, but what I would say, Chris, you don't want to create a new campaign. A new campaign is really going to be completely different. You probably want to do separate I do separate ad groups for the different keywords. Like I'm doing a campaign for an MLM person, and I got one set of keywords in one ad group. Then I got another set of keywords in another ad group. So that's how I'm splitting up. It's the same overall product, same overall client, if you will, but I'm segmenting by ad groups.
Okay, and what I'm trying to do, and so maybe I don't need a different campaign. All I'm trying to do is just trying to test different topics. You know, like I say, I can test certain key, like debt collection. You know, I can search that in different keywords. But I thought, wait a minute, what about budgets and budgeting? I just want to try a different. All I'm trying to say is I'd like to try a different set of keywords or a different topic altogether. What do I need to create to kind of start all over again? Type in a different topic and then look for keywords and then see how popular those searches are.
Well, I see where you're going with this. I still think are you changing the landing page? Are you changing where you're sending people, or are they all going to the same overall landing page?
No, the landing page is not made yet because I'm investigating what is my most
doing research. Okay, so you're just doing research. Well, then you probably don't need to be, if you're just doing the keyword research and grouping, then
yes,
you're not in the right location, in my opinion. Go up there to Tools.
Okay.
And Keyword Planner.
Okay.
And now you can use that part of it to do the research. You can set up different, you know, on the left, there's search for new keywords using a phrase website. You can start there, put in your keywords, and here's where I start this process of building my list of keywords inside of here.
Oh, okay. So this will give me this is the path to follow where I can type in different keywords, see the reaction, how many people are searching for these things, go to the thing like John pointed out in his videos, like more like these.
Well, I haven't looked at the video, so I can't answer that. I can tell you this is keywords for AdWords. More like these sounds like you're talking about Facebook. Or am I wrong, John, on the video?
More like these in the pay-per-click. But really, if you're looking to do keyword research, Chris,
yes,
you want to go down and skip down to the lesson on keyword research in the analysis portion. I think you're going to find that in the competitor analysis. And it's going to take you in here where Anthony's got you. And it's going to walk you through the process of doing specific keyword research. Now, when you're creating different campaigns for the split testing, that's where you're going to take those keywords and you're going to separate them up into buckets. So basically, you're going to segment those keywords. Yep. So when you're doing your keyword research, you want to make sure that you keep them separated into very, very specific groups. And that's where you make a different ad group. You don't need a whole new campaign. You just need a new ad group. And that ad group might go to a specific landing page that addresses and even has a variation of that particular keyword in it. So when they land on it, they feel you're really speaking their language. So that's where you want to do that. You want to create different buckets for those keywords.
Okay. Gosh, I guess I'm not making myself clear. In the videos you had, in the initial videos, you used an example of the ACT program and the keywords you used, like the 4 pillars of marketing, and you showed how you use different keywords and the reaction of the searches. All I want to know is just how to, when I followed the video, it got me into one category, one set of keywords. How do I just test different keywords and just start all over again and try a different topic? Is it through the tools? And
yeah, this is really the way you get
I think
to that.
he's talking about the display planner and how to start over with the display planner.
Yeah, no, I think where he's talking is when you go in to create your AdWords account and it walks you through setting up your first campaign to set up the account. And there's a place in there where it says, list your first keywords for your first ad.
Right.
And you start listing them, there's a little button that says more like these.
Right. And
And
let's
the
say,
only place I've ever seen that little button more like these, which I absolutely love, is when you're actually first setting up an ad campaign.
okay, so that's why I wasn't finding that. Okay.
Yeah, once you get out of that, I've never been able to get back and find that without actually going to create a new ad campaign. And that's a great tool for brainstorming. That more like these button was really, really cool. I came up with a lot of things I never would have thought of. But you'll also kind of get the same thing when you go into the keyword planner and you start running different keywords. It's gonna open your eyes to all kinds of different variations, and you can basically take any of those variations and run that as your main search. And that really is just like the more like these. It's the same type of thing.
Okay, so when I set it up, what you're talking about, more like these, I was saying, look, my keywords were apples. And so now I say, well, apples is fine. Now I want to try carrots. I just want to try a different keyword to see what the reaction is to what it is I'm doing.
Well,
Apples.
in that first section, all you have to do is just type in carrots versus apples, and it's going to say, okay, more like these.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, but I've already set up the account once, so I can't get back there. And part of me just wants to. It's the test. It's like, okay, let me try apples. Now let me try oranges.
Sure.
So I don't want to change it and lose all that research. I just want to.
Yeah. So basically, all you have to do is just come to the keyword planner.
Okay.
And follow the lesson on keyword research to use the keyword planner.
Thank you.
You'll get all of your new keywords. And then what you can do is you can put them into Excel and you can sort them into buckets in Excel. And then when you want to go back to your ad campaign, you can just copy and paste in your new keywords. So you can update that.
All right. There's no way to keep it in Google like here's the apples and here's oranges, just to keep it in as opposed to taking information out to Excel? Isn't there any way to make, wouldn't that be different campaigns?
Yeah, you can, but it's a little bit cumbersome because it's going to put too many things in one bucket, and it's hard to, you have to literally check them off to get rid of them one by one inside of Google.
Right.
So I like to get them out into Excel, and I have more horsepower to manipulate the data.
Okay.
And I can sift, I can sort. It's just so much more effective to do it in Excel than to try and work within the constraints of the Google tool.
Okay, great.
I was going to say that was one of the first lessons I learned from John was I immediately export my keyword list out of AdWords quickly and get in Excel. And I again, as you get in Excel, it doesn't even on the first screen when you do this, it won't show you everything. So when you do the export, it'll give you a choice of what's selected or everything. So I export the whole list of it because it won't show you depending on your setup, 100 or so keywords in that first screen right there. So you're not even playing with everything when you look at it inside the platform. It's a whole lot easier in Excel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, so any other questions, related to that or anything else?
I think Cynthia's got her hand up.
Okay, I'll unmute you there. Go ahead.
Just a quick, as long as we're on the keyword planner, what's the minimum number, since I'm a total newbie and I'm only want to use the words to test them in Facebook. So given that, should I include words that have, what's a least number of words searched? Like if it's searched less than 100 times a month, I probably don't care about it, or do I?
Okay, well, that's a great question. And that, again, has a couple of variables to it. If you're selling something that is very high dollar,
yes,
then you can go down to very low amounts of keywords. Like, for instance, I have one client that sells water parks. If I get him one customer per year, he's highly profitable.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm not looking for mass volumes. I'm looking for that one needle in the haystack.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something that is like, it's a $27 product, then you're going to need a fairly big volume of people to get in front of with that. So don't look at it just from a numbers of one size fits all. Look at it for what you're specifically doing. How many people would you need to make it worthwhile? Now, if you're doing and this is specific to pay-per-click, if you're doing pay-per-click, we will create, ad buckets that have low numbers of people, and we'll put a bunch of them in there as long as it's all the same related types of keywords, because we're not concerned. We're only going to pay for what gets clicked anyway. So we might take, maybe 500 keywords that are all very long tail, very specific, and maybe they only get, a few searches a month. Who cares? Because we're going to build a bucket where it gets enough of them that we're going to get enough clicks out of it to make it worthwhile. One of the things is your competitors might not be doing that. So they might not be taking advantage of those particular prospects. So now in Facebook, if you're doing your research in Google, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to translate that into Facebook. In Google, this goes back to the pyramid of awareness. If they're at the base level of the pyramid of awareness, that's where the most opportunity is. But that's also not going to work in pay-per-click because they're unaware, they're not searching, they don't know to look for it.
Right.
So that's something to think about there. If they're higher up on the pyramid of awareness, then chances are they're probably going to be searching for it. So Chris, if you're looking to unshare your screen, up at the top it just says stop sharing, and then that'll exit you out. And you're muted there too.
Okay.
So up at the very top of your screen, you should have a little green bar and a view option, stop sharing.
Yeah, I've been looking for that for a while. I really apologize.
I could see you were hunting for it.
Yeah, and
it's going to be all the way at the top of your view screen where it says view options.
yeah, again, I apologize. My whole screen's changed ever since then. I don't have the I don't have the. Let me quit the. Let me just. I'll just have to log out. I'm just going to exit to do that. I can't seem to find that.
Oh, hold on! Don't go that far yet. I think I can do it. Okay. I think I can take it back here. There we go. I took it back away from you.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, back to those buckets. Pay-per-click and Facebook. The reason that you would want to advertise on Facebook is to address an audience that is unaware. There's huge opportunity in addressing that. So when they're unaware, you don't really care if they're searching. So the numbers on search are irrelevant.
Oh, okay.
So see how it really, you have to look at it for your own program. Is your prospects in the unaware? Then if they're in the unaware, you're not going to reach them on pay-per-click, and those numbers are irrelevant when you go over to Facebook. Okay. So what you want to do in Facebook is you want to look at your target audience, and you want to look at how big that group is and see if that's big enough to make it worth your while. But, so you might be looking at stuff like, how many people are in a particular, zip code, or, how many people have an annual income of X amount, or how many people are, business owners that, have manufacturing businesses, or, whatever it is that you're that you're hunting for that's your demographic.
Yeah, so that's where, for me, because I'm trying to build my list. So I want women entrepreneurs in general who aren't confident, aren't expert at marketing. So that's sort of my entry level, you know.
Okay.
And so I guess I can go for the numbers that are searched. I guess I can test the keywords in the Google Keyword Planner and then use those as a benchmark inside Facebook.
Yeah, what I would do in that case is I would start kind of brainstorming with the Google suggest bar and figuring out, you know, what are those women searching for? And then take that information into the Google Keyword Planner and really go deep on it to find all the different variations of what they might be typing. If you find that they're not in there and you just can't find anything, that probably dictates that they're in the level of unawareness. So if that's the case, it's going to be really difficult for you to reach them in pay-per-click because they're not searching.
Good, because I feel more comfortable in Facebook anyway. So
yeah, and then in Facebook, I know particularly for you, what you might look at is under the I think it's called habits or something like, or behaviors. If you go under behaviors and you look at business owners that have had the behavior of purchasing marketing materials, and then you limit it down to women, I think you'll have a pretty solid audience there.
Okay.
And then if you want them by area, you can do it by state, by country, by zip code. I've used that particular behavior to target people in a local area for, for getting them into a local seminar. It worked really good. It's business owners that have purchased marketing materials. That way, you know, they're active and they're trying to grow their business, and they're in a particular geographic location.
Oh, good. Good.
So
okay.
if you're selling them in an ebook or something, it doesn't matter the geographic location. You can go for the whole United States or the whole world. But if it's specific to women, then you want to make sure you check that off in your audience box when you're creating your audience in Facebook.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Anybody else? Anything before we wrap up here? All right, guys, that looks like a wrap for our copy and tech call. So next week we're going to be doing the traffic call, and then we cycle back. We cycle back to strategy, analysis, and also, you know, we have the 11 o'clock Thursday call. So if it's like off topic, if it's something, you know, that's back behind or whatever, keep in mind those Thursday calls are open for you guys too. You can ask any question you want on there. It can be related to anything. I know for the Apprentice program on these particular calls, I want to try and keep it corralled to the subject matter of the week, just so the recordings are really valid and pertinent and informative for anybody that wants to come back and watch them again. But that Thursday 11 o'clock open support call, that's open to anything. You know, if you're stuck on anything at all, don't be afraid to hop on that call and ask away.
Hey, John, according to the email, the next call is supposed to be the traffic call. Is that you said cycle back around, or is that correct?
Yeah, next week, that's going to be traffic next week. And then after that, for August, we start back over. So first Thursday through the fourth Thursday.
Okay.
And there might be some months where we might find a fifth Thursday in there and we get that week off. I haven't looked at the calendar to see if that's true or not, but I know there is some months where you get a fifth day in there.
Yay!
So I don't believe there's any months where there's less than 4 Thursdays, so we should be good. So, All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and exit out of the recording.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Yeah, it was